Alright, I'm going to finish the second half of this video. The first half I took the 3D geometry created by the 3D Disto and I flattened it into 2D, which is what we see here. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take this 2D information and create the wall paneling that we were after in terms of the measurements. And I'm just going to kind of walk through the steps of this. And this is the same one we did before, so it should be, something you're used to looking at for a little while, and I'm going to get going. So I have the left side as you're looking up towards the airport. This would be the airplane side, this would be the airport side. So the left side or the right side, I'm going to work on the left side. I'm probably just going to work through this one, and you kind of get the same idea for the right side. So I don't bore you too much, but so what we did was we stepped this up here, if you remember, and really these joints here are not accurate. So I'm going to delete this, and the 3D Disto was, I believe it was here, and when I took the shots, or we were taking the shots for this, we can only see a little bit, so we have to fill this out square. So same with this idea. Not sure why that's interesting. So I'm going to do, this was one that had 3 different things to it. This here, just trying to remember where we were and what we were doing here. I think, well, let's start with this. This line here is the level line that we were using to get level. So what I want to do is, if I want to highlight this, you'll see it, the angle is set for 180.04, blah, 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 blah. Well, that needs to be zeroed out. So I'm going to highlight everything here. I'm going to rotate it. I'm going to pick a point on this line, it doesn't really matter where, and I'm going to hit R for reference, and I'm going to say that pick for this point and pick this point on the same line. I want to make this 0. So now when I highlight this, it says 180 degrees even. So that just zeroed that out. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this line and I'm going to bring it down to here, because now really wherever this line goes, it's the level, it's the level marker. And I'm going to drop a perpendicular line here, oops, and I'm just using AutoCAD to tell me it's perpendicular. You can see it in the cursor. And I'm going to just do a chamfer to join these two together. And you can see that's kind of the slope effect. And I'm going to join these lines. And now I'm going to make this a hidden layer, which I have a command that makes that a hidden layer, and that represents the level and the plumb line for this slope. And if we knew like the heights of the wheels and stuff, we could just extend that and we'd know how much of a pitch we got. So that's the first step. Now that I've done that first step, I'm actually going to hide this. There's an isolate and hide command in AutoCAD. I'm going to do the same thing with the railing measurements that we took, because I don't really want to see those just yet. I'll see them eventually, but I'm just hiding them. I'm going to hide this too, because that doesn't really help. Alright, so we have this first one that we need to basically connect the dots here. So what I'm going to do is draw a U shape. You'll see why in a second. And then I'm going to extend this line to that, and this line to that one. And now down here, you can see this is a step. This is where the one was stepping into the other. And I'm going to delete this, and I'm going to draw a line from here to the perpendicular of this area, and a line from here to the perpendicular of this area. And I'm going to use the chamfer command again, which is set to 0, so it's just basically trimming those lines. And doing the same thing for here. and doing the same thing for here and the same thing for here. Now I know that these are fine. Now I'm going to join this here. Now I think if you notice here, I'm going to explode this again. This is kind of sloped up. I think we might hit a point on the floor and then hit a point close to it. So this actually needs to be extended as well. So I'm going to bring this down, and that would make more sense because these kind of telescoped into each other. So that's going to go down. So that's basically the big one, middle one, smaller one, kind of so on and so forth. This was 3 different sections for this particular one. So we have this bottom one set. Now I'm just going to join this and make sure I get all that. So now when I select this, it's all one rectangle. And then we got these points here which are notating or denotating the paneling. We'll get back to that. I want to keep going with this step-up routine. So I'm going to highlight the bottom and see kind of where this broke. And looks like right here is where we took some different measurements. I'm going to delete that. And I'm going to do the same U-shape technique again. I'm going to say, let's extend this line to there and that line to there. This slope here was because I couldn't see it with the Disto, so I'm going to just delete that. So now if we go down to here, this line should connect perpendicular. That's what that little triangle is. And this line should connect perpendicular. So we're going to fillet that and fillet that. Sorry, chamfer that. And I'm now going to chamfer this. Now I'm curious why that is the way it is. Because really that doesn't matter. This is going to be chamfered. This is also chamfered. This can be deleted. I'm going to chamfer this from here to there. Now I'm not sure why it's coming in as a step, but I think that would be fine. Now same idea here. We got one bottom line. So now I'm going to just join basically everything that's left. So now that should be a continuous, and then down here it says closed. And I'm going to make these all object minor. This is just my layer system. So we're doing that. So now we've isolated this whole side. We've segmented these into 3 different areas. And now I'm going to recreate these seams. So the seams, the way they worked, they were perpendicular. So I again am using the perpendicular symbol in AutoCAD, and I'm just drawing from the center point that we located in the field to the perpendicular. And just going right along, just making sure that every time I click the button to draw the line, I'm getting the perpendicular mark. You can see there's a bunch of different ones. This one is just the nearest snap. That's a perpendicular snap. There's another one that we were getting for like center points. So I'm just making sure that I'm getting the perpendicular every time because that's the way these panels were. And this is kind of a, a guesstimate. If we really, really wanted to locate these seams, we would have just taken two shots of that center point. But time was against us. So, alright, almost done with this. Now, what I want to do is I'm going to locate, this is the center point between those guys. So I want to make this actually a hidden layer too. So it's going to turn green, and then I'm just going to match this all the way across. Because I don't want to delete that line. I want it to be, in the center. So, and then when we measured, it was roughly about 1.5 inches. So I'm going to just offset 3/4 of an inch this way, and I have it set up so that when it offsets, it's going to do the right layer here. So I'm going to go offset 3/4 of an inch this way, 3/4 of an inch this way, and now I we're creating these seams. And this is just kind of like a pick and go and pick and go. This is a long one, so it takes just a little bit longer, but you can get the idea once you do it a little bit. It's pretty quick. And I picked it so that when you do this command, it offsets to a different layer, because when you're offsetting to the same color, it gets a little crazy if you do it the wrong way. I'm picking the line and pulling one way, picking the line, pulling the other way. And when the lines are all three the same color, then it's hard to tell which way you're picking. Now you can easily see which one's right and which one's wrong. I should say which one's right and which one's the one you're supposed to be working from. Almost done with this, and then we're on the home stretch to getting this to a workable drawing that we can start dimensioning and putting on paper. Alright, so now that we've done that, I'm going to trim all of these. And the reason why I joined this was for that very reason. So now when I trim this, it's easily done. If that was just a line, you'd have to pick each individual one. It'd be a pain in the butt. And now it's kind of better. So there's all of the panels. Now the last thing I want to do is just end my object isolation, and the last thing you'll see here is a railing, which I'm going to draw. And we were just really concerned with the location of it. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to join this guy all in one shot. And the railing had a curve to it, so I'm going to start where the curve started. I'm going to hit E for endpoint down here, which was really the start of the railing, and D for direction, and that should kind of recreate a curve so that we're not all segmented here. These are all segments. So that's the curve, and this is the segment, maybe, yeah. Then I'm just going to pull this out, and this out, and this out, and then we're going to trim to there. Make sure I got everything out of the way. That should be an arc, which it is. This should be the railing. And I'm going to join this. And the railing was about 1.5 inches diameter. This is just a guess. So I'm going to offset 3/4 both ways. So this way, and then I'm going to delete that guy. And now this was a bullnose type situation. So fillet radius. And I just picked one way. And this needs to not be connected. Fillet radius. Oops, fillet radius. Now this is happening because there's a polyline here. We don't want that to be a polyline. We want it to be line, and then we'll join it later. Oh, bah. That's a line. That's a polyline. There we go. Now if I fillet radius, it's going to work. For some reason, when you get polylines in the mix, it yells at you. And then same with over here, we're going to do a line that connects these guys. Fillet radius. 1, 2. Again, this is really just for show. And now I'm going to right click, select similar. It's going to highlight, oops. Right click, select similar. No, that's not what I want. I'm looking for these points. There we are. Right click, select similar. Now I don't want to select these because I am doing on this one side, so I'm just going to go up 200. Make sure that those are just points. There's no other geometry with them. And the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to join all this together. And join all this. And that should be continuous. Oh, and it says no. So we're just going to select it and say, please make it continuous. Ooh, that's not good. This guy, no. This guy needs to be brought together. I think I deleted a little point there, and now it's yelling at us. So because this doesn't have to be 100% perfect for this particular area, I can do this kind of stuff. And even if it did have to be perfect, we would do that. So now it's joined. And the last thing I'm going to do is trim. And I'm not going to trim the center line, just in case I need to recreate it, but I am going to trim all these white lines. So we'll just do that. And it's just a matter of going through and cleaning this up. And then we'll be ready to do the next one. And again, this is a long hallway, so it takes just a little bit longer to trim every thing. Almost done. So now all my white lines are my quote-unquote object minor. This one actually could be a hardware layer, maybe. That way we don't have to have them all be the same layer. And then we got the center lines as the hidden line, and this is our horizontal level line. And this is ready to go into place. So I'm going to bring this down. This goes down here, and this goes over to here. And now this is my X is a 0, 0 point. And now I can start thinking about, I'm going to do one more, basically getting ready for this guy to happen. So this is the same idea. I guess this would be good to just do this as a refresher. So this says 359.95 blah 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 blah. We want to make sure we take this, rotate it, pick a point, rotate from here to here and make it 0. Now this should say 0. Now we can draw this down and draw this over. Because these are going to say 0 as well. 180 or 0 is the same thing. I'm going to join this together. I'm going to LA07, which is my command to make that into a hidden. I'm going to delete that. Now I'm going to take this whole thing and join it. And then I'm going to hide it. Isolate, hide. Now here we go. So go away. I just hit a bunch of things. Isolate, hide. And I want to make sure I didn't hide the wrong points. So I'm going to do it slower. Okay. So now we need to kind of figure this out here. So we don't need that. We really don't need that. This I think we can live without. Alright, now I'm going to isolate this guy and hide him. And I'm going to CHA, which is chamfer this to this, use the join command, and make this a polyline. Same with this, join. Yep. And now this I know from here to perpendicular. And this I know from here. Actually, I'm going to extend this guy out. Yep. And then from here, perpendicular. And we can get rid of that. We can CHA this, clean that up. Okay, we can get rid of this, we don't need it. And we're going to extend that to there. It's kind of matching. Now, same with this. Good, I'm going to delete this. I'm going to do the U shape. So up, over, down, extend, extend, extend. Okay. Now that I've established the U shape, I'm going back down to this hole. This one is going to go to perpendicular. Get rid of that point. And this one here is also going to go perpendicular. I'm going to get rid of that point and chamfer this and chamfer that. And now we have established two squares. You can see this is very tedious once you get the hang of it. And then we got, ooh, this is a no. I'm going to try and join this one more time. Sometimes when you do it the first time, oh, it's still a no. Now I'm going to just see. I'm looking around, seeing all the points, and when I hit yes, what happens? What changes? I'm just going to hit yes, and it's going to close it off. And then lastly, this looks good. Yes. Yes. Now I have that joined. Now last, I'm going to just make this object minor. And now we can start this routine. Yep. Oops. Wrong routine. X lines are construction lines, so they get a little bit more versatility here. So I'm just again going to perpendicular, and it's a nice part about these lines, or their construction lines I call them, is they go on forever and ever. So you could literally yeah, it's just a nice thing that they go on forever. I don't know where I was going with that. It's late day today. Alright, so that's that. And now I'm going to do the same thing with this. So perpendicular, and perpendicular, and perpendicular, and perpendicular, and more, and more, and more. And again, I'm going perpendicular to the ceiling because that was the one that we could visualize the best. Which you could really go perpendicular before. Okay, so now that those are all kind of transferred, I'm going to make this a hidden layer, and I'm going to match, if you remember. And then I'm going to offset 3/4 like we did before. One way, one the other way. This is the long part. Now, there's a way that you can speed this up, you know, if you wanted to do multiples together, or do one and copy and paste it and all that fun stuff, but just kind of giving you the quick and dirty version of this, and then we'll, you know, you can refine it as you go. Almost done with this file, and then we'll be ready to go. This kind of here and here, here and here, and you can make this offset whatever you want. So, you know, say this was like 10-inch gap or a 5-inch gap or whatever you want. You can just make the offset 5 and 5, and you get your 10. And right now I have it set up for 3/4 and 3/4, and I get my 1.5. So either way works fine. So we got that, and that, and that, and that. Almost done. Now, if this was not angled, you could have like grabbed everything and that's not good. Could have grabbed anything. I trimmed too far here. And what was I going to say? Got distracted with my trimming here. Oh, you can grab anything, copy and paste it over 3/4 and over 3/4. But because everything's at an angle, it's easier to just do it this way. So now again, there we've kind of recreated all the panels. I'm going to hit Object End Isolation. We'll have our horizontal and plumb line here. The last thing that we have to do is do this railing. So I'm going to join. And I'm going to join all of that. So that should be a continuous line. It's not going to be closed because obviously it's not closed. But the last thing I want to do is just draw an arc from where this starts the curve, and I'm going to hit E for end to here and D for direction. And that's going to give us pretty close. Again, this does not have to be perfect. It was really just to get the visual. Now I'm just pulling these down because I want to trim this to here, but I also want to, you know, make it a curve. Alright, so, sorry, I'm thinking 3 steps ahead here. That's probably not a good thing. So now these are the last points left. I'm going to just select similar. They should be all sprawled out through here. And I'm going to move this up 200 just to take a look at it, and I'm going to delete them. So now we still just have this handrail left, and I'm going to join again. Okay, and now I'm going to offset 3/4 of an inch this way, and 3/4 of an inch this way, and delete this one. So now I have this, 1, 2, and this I don't want it to be a polyline, so fillet radius. The polylines, they have some hard times communicating with other polylines sometimes. And again, this is going to go up to here, fillet radius, and I'm picking the midpoint to there, and the midpoint to there. Okay, now I'm going to join all of this. Now I'm just really can just highlight like this. That's the other nice thing about rectangles is if I would have done this and that wasn't a rectangle, then I would have selected this bottom piece, but because it is, I didn't have to. And lastly, I'm going to trim, and I'm going to trim these panel openings out. So this is just going to take a second. I'm going to go through this. 1, 2. Again, I'm keeping the center line just in case there was, an offset you needed to do and you didn't want to join the two broken ones together and all that fun stuff. That's the easiest way to do it, is just to leave that hidden line there. Alright, and then this is almost done. 1, 2, 3, and now I'm just going to move this into place. Now I've set this line up down here as 100 inches off, which is my standard. So now we have panels on the left, panels on the right side, the railing, everything here is workable, and I'm just going to save it. Save it one more time, and that's about it. So thanks for listening to me drone on and on about this, and hopefully this helps get this all figured out for you. If you have any questions, feel free to call or email, and yeah, hopefully this works well. Thanks for watching.